Hey guys, this is FIDE Master Kostya Kavutskiy here for Chess.com, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my series on recapping the 2013 US Championships. Today I wanted to focus my attention on the runner-up of the US Championship, GM Alejandro Ramirez. As you guys know, he was tied for first heading into the tiebreak before GM Kavutskiy ended up winning in the playoff on the very last day. But Alejandro Ramirez had an amazing tournament. He surprised a lot of people, and he won a lot of games. So I wanted to show a highlight, in my opinion, from his tournament, being his game against GM Larry Christiansen. Here Alejandro's playing white, and we've had an English opening, as you can tell by the structure, with the c-pawns here on c4 and c5. White has this really nice light squared bishop that's basically controlling the entire board, and white is probably a little bit better here because of this bishop and some nice ideas available to them by attacking on light squares. So here Alejandro played the move a4. A really brilliant idea, actually. The point of this move is just to play a5 and misplace this queen and pick up the pawn on b3. And obviously, after black takes the pawn on a4, which is what happened in the game, it seems like white has to come up with something good here. And the point of this sacrifice is to play rook a1. Now, if this bishop retreats, white will play bishop a5, attacking the queen, and the queen has to move over to the a file, after which a move like bishop d8 will basically win a lot of material. So after rook a1, black is pretty much forced to place one of their heavy pieces on the a file. In this case, Larry decided to play rook a8. And now this pin is fairly uncomfortable because there's no easy way to really untangle too quickly. Maybe if black was given one or two moves to play like rook a8 and get their bishop out of the way, they would be fine. But here is the move that Alejandro probably saw from afar and really justifies his sacrifice. He played the move e4. And the point of this move is to start attacking the black king on the light squares. White basically wants to play e takes f5, gf, and queen h5. And this kind of attack will be pretty serious. For instance, rook a8, white will take on f5, and maybe queen f3, maybe queen h5, but black is in serious trouble because their king side is in huge danger. Next, bishop f7 is being threatened, and black's king is in a tough spot. Also, bishop d2 could come at some point. So, in response to this, Christiansen played f4, trying to keep the position locked. But white played gf, ef, traded off black's defending bishop on g7, and played the simple move queen f3. So now white just wants to take this pawn and continue attacking black's king. As we can see, black's queen is really misplaced on the queen side here, and white's bishop is much stronger than its counterpart over here. So white's queen and bishop are definitely outperforming their opponents, and this gives white absolutely full compensation for the pawn. So black played rook e5. If a move like g5, then I think h4 is pretty strong, and white is basically just opening up the king side and going for broke against the black king here. So this would be a pretty dangerous attack for white. Instead, black played rook e5, trying to keep control of the position and defend some of their weaknesses. White took this pawn, rook f8. This was basically black's idea, getting out of the pin along the a file and trying to get some of their pieces back into action. Queen e3, bishop c6, f4, rook h5, queen g3. So after all that, basically white remains better, not decisively better, but a significant advantage definitely. I think most, if not all, players would prefer playing white here. And again, that's mainly because this bishop on d5 is so strong, and also black's king is a little bit weaker than white's king, and white is ready to start putting more pressure against black's king side. So here black took on d5. I think maybe this is a mistake. Perhaps a move like queen c7 would have been better, just trying to keep the position steady. Instead, black couldn't really tolerate this bishop any longer and decided to trade it off. But after e takes d5, white has a new advantage, and that's control over this very strong open file. And this is a pretty serious advantage, which ultimately led to Alejandro winning this game. So black played rook hf5, rook e6, rook f6, and here I think the simple queen e3 would have been quite strong, just keeping control over the e-file and threatening rook a8, followed by a devastating attack. For instance, if rook takes f4, I think white can just trade rooks and play rook a8, and black doesn't have any good defense to either queen e7 check or queen e8, followed by checkmate along the back rank. Again, the problem here is that black's queen just can't get into play here. There's nothing it can really do. If queen b4, well, the e1 square is still covered by white's queen when she goes to e8, so there's nothing really there. And queen c7, the queen doesn't do anything from here either, so just queen e8, and white is mating the black king. So I think queen e3 would have been a good idea, getting ready to trade rooks on f6 and activate the queen on the 8th rank, but instead Alejandro played rook a8 with basically the same idea. But here he allowed black to take on e6, de, queen c7 was played, trying to get the queen into the defense, rook e8, and now actually if black played g5, this would complicate matters quite a bit here, because now black is getting some kind of counterplay against white's king. They're threatening rook takes f4, and white's queen doesn't really have a good way to get into the fight or to attack black's king. So this would have been pretty unclear, but probably white has the better chances still. Instead, Christiansen played d5, which is a reasonable move, getting the queen into the game, but is definitely a huge mistake after white's next move, e7. And now white threatens to play rook g8 check and queen. So black has no time to take this pawn on f4. They played king f7, and after rook h8, again threatening to queen. Now if queen takes e7, just rook h7 check wins the game. And after king takes e7, which is what happened in the game, white played queen takes g6. And oddly enough, black does not have a single good check, I should say. But white's queen and rook are perfectly placed, and black's king is in huge trouble. Not to mention the rook is also hanging. A move like rook f7 is possible, but black is definitely lost here. For instance, queen takes f7 check and rook h7 seems like the simplest way to end the game immediately. So after queen takes g6, Christiansen understandably resigned, and Alejandro ended up winning this game. So I wanted to make this video to highlight one of Alejandro's probably most creative games of the tournament. I really liked his sacrifice back here with the move a4, a really interesting way to put black's pieces in a bind here. And after the move e4, it was clear that white was seizing the initiative. So with that, I'll wrap up the series on recapping the US Championships, and hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you around on Chess.com.